Good morning, my friends. Thank you for joining me again today. Let's begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, dearest friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, and our friend Swami Kriyananda, humbly we bow before you all. Bless us today with a deeper understanding of how to become receptive to your vibration. O great ones, help us to feel the vibration of your example in our hearts. Help us to feel your blessings there, your guidance, your presence always. O Christ, help us to feel your consciousness through this music, to assimilate your example into our own lives. Om, peace. Amen. So for those of you who don't know, the Ananda Living Wisdom School here in Palo Alto does an annual production, a theater production, and they pick the lives of saints often or very admirable souls. And it involves the whole school from kindergarten through 8th grade, and there's 60 or 70 kids or something like this, and they are all on stage in varying parts, be it as Bandit 1 and Bandit 2, or as King Kamsa, or as a wrestler, or as Krishna himself, or what have you. And it's really a magnificent thing, and I've heard about the legend of Palo Alto school plays for my entire life. Actually, as a fun little aside, when I was growing up at Ananda Village at the Living Wisdom School there, we had this incredible moment in time where there was this renaissance of music that happened, and we had David Eby, who's an incredible musician and a wonderful music teacher, and he taught all of the school music, and he managed to magnetize a number of really talented young musicians, and we got to play concertos and Swamiji's music, and we sang the entire oratorio when I was in high school as a spring performance. We sang the entire Handel's Messiah as a winter's performance, and we did, like I said, a whole slew of incredible musical performances. But while I was in that school, I always heard tales of the marvelous play productions that Palo Alto would put on, and I never traveled to go see them, but sometimes some of the other classes would come down here and see them. So anyway, all this to say, I finally got to see what the fabled Palo Alto school play was just last week when they put on a production of The Life of Krishna. And what I was so moved by was at the end of the play, it concludes by the actor who's playing Krishna saying, "Any who listens to the story of my life will be blessed." And I really felt that to be true. Being an ex-actor and performing artist and being in Los Angeles, and I've been in professional plays and I've been in films and things like this and worked on professional sets. But this was not necessarily like that, in its refinement in certain material senses, but it was so inspiring. Just having a play about Krishna, just having these children tuning themselves into the life of such a great soul. As soon as the play started, for the first dress rehearsal that I saw, I could feel Krishna's blessings. And it actually moved me to tears. I could feel he's here, and he's blessing all of these children, and he's blessing all of us. Even if people aren't subtle enough to be able to feel it, he's here. And it was so moving to me. Every single performance, it was new and fresh, and it would come at different moments or different lines, different scenes from the play, and I could suddenly feel Krishna's blessings pouring through this moment into the audience. And that was so beautiful, and it just reminded me of the all importance of attunement and to a subtle and sensitive heart. Because I could have just as easily been preoccupied with my own little world, my own sufferings, my own private battles, and I could have missed that touch of Krishna's presence in the play. But thank God I was able to feel it and to receive some of his blessings, and it was so beautiful to me. And now I'm sharing that because the piece of music that we're going to listen to and going to try to absorb today is very much the same. That this comes from Swamiji's oratorio, the body of music telling the life of Christ. And just like that play of Krishna that I saw, this entire body of music is not just music. It's not just wonderfully composed melodies and rich harmonies and elegant poetry, but it's really a throbbing lifeline between Christ's consciousness and your own. If only we can sensitize ourselves to feel it. That, when you're a young child and you're learning about how sound waves work, you build those little telephone kits out of a tin can with a string attached to one side, and you run it to the other tin can, and your friend 25 feet away can whistle or hum into the tin can, and you hold it against your ear and you can hear it. And that's a lot what these songs are. That if you put your inner ear up against one of these songs, you can feel Christ's heart beating from across all eternity, from across all time and space. And there is no time and space. He lives now. He lives in you and me. And that's actually what Swamiji gave as the subtitle for this piece of music originally. Christ lives in the Holy Land and in you and me, I believe, or some variation therein. And that's really the experience that you get from listening deeply to this music, and more than just listening, from trying to produce it, from trying to sing it yourself, which is why in this series I keep encouraging all of us to sing along with me, sing badly. Christ doesn't care if you sing badly. He cares that you're putting out the effort, the attempt to be in tune with him. When a child tries to imitate his father or his mother, the parent doesn't scold them for not being able to do it perfectly. If a child comes and borrows his father's shoes and clumps around in them, the father won't say, "Your feet are far too small for that. What are you thinking?" He'll encourage him and he'll say, "Yes, one day, perhaps you will be big enough to wear those shoes." And so we should approach the music in that way, like we're approaching God the Father, God the Mother, God our friend, our beloved through this music, even if we're bad, even if we can't sing, because through that effort, this music will coax us upwards, and not just in a performative sense, but it will coax our hearts and our consciousness more towards God. That's really what this music is all about. And let's really remember that. Let's keep that at the forefront of our minds always. Now, coming to this particular piece, it is from the oratorio, and it's from one of the most inward pivotal moments of the whole story. And it comes just as Christ is about to be taken to be crucified. And Swamiji wrote this song, I believe, right where Christ was kneeling on the stone in the altar at the Garden of Gethsemane, praying to God, "Let this cup pass from me," right before they came to take him to be crucified. And in the oratorio, it's this magnificent build that they have the exaltation of the people celebrating the coming of the Messiah, the coming of the King. And then there's this undertone of impending doom. And then what's very dramatic is we have this big choir piece, and then all of a sudden it becomes more inward with an instrumental piece setting the tone of Gethsemane. And it has this melancholic sorrow of this approaching grief. And then the next song is this, when Christ is alone in the garden praying to God. And it's my absolute favorite moment of the oratorio, I think. And there's this piece of music, "Let this cup pass from me." And then it immediately flows into the next solo, which is "Thy will." And it's perhaps the most inward moment of the oratorio, where it's just you and Christ. It's also very interesting to me that this is perhaps the only two solos that it's really Christ speaking. Actually, that's not true. He also sings in the Temptation of Christ. And there are perhaps others that I'm forgetting. But these are very specifically when we hear Christ himself talking to God. And that's something so special, so dear, that imagine what would you give to be able to be a fly on the rock of agony, to be able to hear Christ pray, to be able to feel his heart offering himself to God. That's what this song is. That's what we get to be when we sing this song and when we listen to it. We get to be not just a fly on the rock, but we get to be a little fly on his heart, feeling what that prayer was, feeling what his consciousness was. And as we do that, we can touch the heart of Christ through this music. And in turn, he can reach through and touch us. And what multitude of blessings could be transmitted through that touch, more than I could possibly conceive, or any of us. So, with that in mind, let's take this song as an act of conscious attunement, trying to place ourselves through imagery, through poetry, through music, through sound, through awakening the heart's feelings, into that moment that Christ sat, knelt before the rock, and prayed to God, "Let this cup pass from me. Let my heart not know so much pain." And let's put ourselves there with him and try to experience this moment with him. So I will play, we're actually going to just play the piece as it's written. So it begins with a cello intro, and there would actually be a violin also playing. And then you'll hear Christ's voice enter, and it will be a trio or a duet in this case for today. And it's very fun for me as a cellist to play this piece, and then the next one, Thy Will Be Done, which I'll play next week. Because I like to think of the cello as being like the silent voice of God that's playing along with Christ, that's singing with him. And it makes it a really sweet piece, that this is not a solo, but this is actually a duet. Because of course God was with him. It's just God wasn't speaking in words that human ears could hear. So let's sit up straight. Let's close our eyes. And let's put ourselves at that pivotal moment. Let's visualize Christ if you're able to. And let's mentally call out to him and ask him to come bless us through this music. And let's imagine him in the Garden of Gethsemane at the Rock of Agony, praying to God. Such pass from me. Let my heart not know so much pain. Most love thou bearest thy children, ever suffer such disdain. Would that I might reveal thy greatness, nevertheless thy will be done. Let's pause for a moment and just be with Christ. Now I'd like to go through some of the poetry together, because the most emphatic word is one that I think to me is one that often slips by a little bit unnoticed. The lyrics are, Lord, let this cup pass from me. Let my heart not know so much pain. But we must pause here and reflect and ask ourselves, what is the pain that Christ feels? And we're told in other parts of the oratorio and by Master that the pain Christ felt was not for himself, but that he grieved that mankind was throwing away this divine gift, and that he grieved for the bad karma that would be incurred by those who were about to mistreat him so. That here he was offering the one true gift, the only thing of any value in the entire creation, all creation, and it was going to be so bitterly refused. And what a terrible pain of sympathy to feel on behalf of those who are about to do this. And so he's praying that the cup of the sorrow of his heart was not that he was afraid of the impending crucifixion or what was about to happen to him, but rather the grief that here was all of these people whom he could help if only they would let him, and instead they were going to crucify him. Lord, let this cup pass from me. Let my heart not know so much pain. And then he continues to explain what that pain is. Must the love thou bearest thy children ever suffer such disdain? And he is the representative of that love. So it's, again, his pain was not for himself, but saying that the children will suffer so much for disdaining your love in this way. And then my favorite word of all, would. He says, would that I might reveal thy greatness. Nevertheless, thy will be done. But that word would is my favorite, because what he's really saying is, I wish that I could reveal thy greatness. That, of course, God, if he revealed his splendor and his greatness, it could convert the calloused hearts of all creation instantly, because so mighty is he. But God will never impose upon our free will. But yet Christ is sitting here and feeling within him that power of God's love. And he's saying, if only I could just show it to them, would that I might reveal thy greatness. Nevertheless, thy will be done. It's magnificent. This song teaches us so much about how to behave in the world as well. That Christ never says, would that I might reveal my greatness, or anything else like that. He's only always referencing himself as an instrument of God. It's really quite wonderful to contemplate. And more than picking it apart intellectually, we should just sing this. and really allow it to penetrate deeply into our minds. This is one of my favorite songs from the oratorio, and one that I'll sing on a loop. And actually, it was a great joy for me in preparation for the upcoming oratorio in just a few weeks in the Easter season. I was rehearsing this song at the Ananda High School because one of the students is a violinist and is going to join us for the performance. And I got two of the other teachers to just come over impromptu and start singing the solo line. And it was so much fun that, okay, teacher A, just come over and sing with us because I want to hear the part. And then the next day, okay, teacher B, come over and sing with us. And just to have them come over and we would sing it 6 or 7 or 8 times, just back to back for fun, just for practice sake. And it's so magnificent. What an incredible piece it is. And so my invitation to you is practice it this week. Or shouldn't use even that word, just sing it this week. Enjoy it this week and ask Christ, teach me what your heart felt at that moment. An incredible thing you can feel. It's also, this song really satisfies a yearning, I think, within each of our hearts, which is, it has just that tinge of melancholy in it, that we all suffer. But nevertheless, thy will be done. That it's teaching us to always offer the cup of our hearts back to God, for Him to do with as He will. Because of course, as Christ surrenders to God's will, the greatest miracle of all takes place. And as Yogananda puts it in one of his Whispers from Eternity, the greatest miracle of love was enthroned on every heart when the magic of your voice said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." And so some of the most powerful moments of Christ's life were to come because of the trials He went through. There's much we can learn from this. Now, let's just listen. I'll play just the melody on the cello, and actually the vocal melody. And then we'll tune into it in that way, and let's just listen to, it has such a depth of yearning, as well as expansive qualities that bring us into a deeper inner stillness if we approach it in the right way. It's really quite magnificent. Let's see. I have to transpose this down an octave, otherwise it would be a little inappropriate. So that's what my brain is doing right now. Okay, got it. magnificent lines. And when you sing this, I encourage you to feel, when does the melody lift your heart upwards and when is it drawing it inwards? And just ask that question and then sing and listen and feel. For example, there's this incredible moving line. It's so simple. Must the love thou bearest. And in that descending passage on the word love, there's so much feeling. Must the love thou bearest thy children ever suffer such disdain? And then my favorite line, Would that I might reveal. And it's so tender because it changes its tone there. The wood, that note almost seems to spring out of nowhere. Such disdain, would that I might reveal thy greatness. Nevertheless, thy will be done. Lord, let this cup pass from me. Let my heart not know so much pain. Must the love thou bearest thy children ever suffer such disdain? Would that I might reveal thy greatness. Nevertheless, thy will be Let's close our eyes again together. And try to visualize Christ praying there. And try to feel the degree to which he gave his life, his heart, his consciousness completely to God. And feel the joy that comes from that. Nevertheless, thy will be done. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you sing this song this week and tune into Christ's heart in preparation for Easter. And like I mentioned, we'll take the next song in this story, Thy Will Be Done, next week to continue attuning to Christ. And then if you feel to, this will align perfectly for the week after will be our oratorio experience, followed by Palm Sunday and Good Friday, and then Easter Sunday. So let's consciously enter into attunement with Christ over these next few weeks, and let's see how special and how holy we can make Easter season this year. Thank you for joining me.